Anne Arundel County Association of Realtors thanks you for your participation in this meeting. As a reminder, all association conferences, meetings, continuing education classes, or any other professional or social gathering must be conducted in full compliance with federal and state antitrust laws. Discussion on any topic suggesting an intent to restrict competition or fix prices is improper. These discussions and topics include individual company policies, pricing, business and customer strategies and practices, including commission amounts or splits. If inappropriate discussions occur at any association meeting, continuing education class, or any other professional or social gathering, all members present must openly disassociate themselves from such discussions. The instructor or chairman must make every effort to immediately end any such discussions. If such discussions occur at an informal or social gathering, please bring it to the immediate attention of the association staff.
Good morning, all. It's Saturday morning, June 20th. Can you believe we are almost finished with the month of June? I can't believe it. And we're here today to talk about a unknown, probably, benefit through BG&E, and Bobby Davidson is going to go into a deep dive on it. But before we do that, I want to do just a 2-minute commercial. No, it's going to be 2 minutes. A 2-minute commercial on someone who's very dear to me and I respect greatly, and actually has coached me. And Noah, talk about what you're going to be doing for AACAR in July.
You bet, Mel. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Good morning to everyone. So July 16th in the afternoon, we just discovered we're not sure if it's 1 or 2, so block out 1 to 3 if you're interested. I'm going to lead a training event at the ACAR offices called the Heart of the Deal. So just told Bobby I'm in real estate half-time and I'm an executive coach half-time. And I'm on a mission to blend those two worlds together. So I speak, do keynote addresses, different places. And so I want to try to bring that closer to home. And so I'm going to lead a talk called The Heart of the Deal, where real estate meets real emotions. So I'm a little bit of a weirdo in the sense that my life motto is that people are my favorite. I am fascinated by humans and their emotions and feelings and way of operating. And in the last 8 years, while I've been in real estate, I've observed some key emotions. I think that moving, selling, or buying a home is arguably one of the most stress-induced experiences an average American can ever go through, up there with marriage, divorce, death, moving. And so I have developed a belief that real estate is actually sacred work. It is sacred work in that we are walking with people through one of the most tender and difficult times of their life. And it works well with my history. I served as a pastor and a missionary for years, and now I'm a coach. So I've always worked with people. And so I've seen the way that emotions collide with a real estate transaction, and I've identified 4 primary emotions that almost every client that I walk with experiences. And so in this talk on July 16th, I'll walk through those 4 emotions, and tell stories of how they show up for my clients and yours. And then I'll offer 4 tips or tools that I have stumbled into through the years to help meet my clients at the point of those emotions. The whole point is to build high trust relationship with clients where you make a memory and you mark a moment that they remember you forever. So the goal is lifelong business, lifelong referral business, because people really are moved by trust and love more than they are by industry expertise. It's nice when we add that in. But so that's the whole heart of the talk, the heart of the deal, where real emotion meets real estate. And it'll be fun and a little bit touchy-feely, but not so much that it's going to turn you off, I don't think. We're all human. We all want to be loved, and so do our clients. And so I'm basically going to offer some hacks for how that would happen. So I think
And
that's my 2 minutes.
actually, you just opened a perfect path to what we're doing this morning with Bobby, which is a touch of value. And so Bobby, why don't you explain what empower means? And you're going to go through 3 segments of this. We're going to talk about the touch to your SOI, which is so important. And Bobby and I have been kind of laughing. We've got the 4th of July coming up, and then it's like, and then what? What is your next touch? Well, he's going to talk about a touch that has so much value. And then he's going to talk about how it can save the deal. Um, and the third element would be, this is a benefit to you also. So, and your home. So with that, Bobby, take it away.
Yeah. And thanks, Noah. He's got that voice that sounds like he's got like a $2,000 microphone. I could just listen to him all day. I don't have that. So hopefully
That's what he sounds like in person. That's just
yeah,
his.
that's awesome. I can just like keep talking, man. But yeah, so I'm
Hi, Joe.
Bobby, obviously. Nice to meet you. I am the owner of HomePro, Home Inspections, and Revival Construction. We'll talk about a little bit of those too. But as she was saying, there's just this like hidden nugget for people to use, and it's really been a fun new trail to go down. And so, want to get you guys into it. I'm gonna go through a couple things just to get through my slides to the meat of where we're going, just to introduce myself. But let me share my screen, and you guys can see what I'm doing.
And I reached out to Bobby because he actually did this presentation at our office. And it was a room full of agents. We probably, in that room, I won't give you the average age, that'd be embarrassing, but I'll give you the average years in real estate is probably 20, 25 years. I don't think, Bobby, was there anyone else
I
in the
mean,
room
no,
that
before we
knew about
started
this
doing it,
program?
I hadn't met an agent that is aware of the program. And I mean, I've been
That-
doing this for a long time. I've been, 15, 16 years and not known about this and kind of feel like an idiot once you find out all the money that you're missing out on and all the clients that you're missing out on telling.
Yeah.
So let's get right to it. So there's HomePro. This is Revival. This is the other company that actually does some of this home improvement work. This is just a little sell for us, which we're going to skip. Um, we'll get right into it. So here's the Empower MD kind of three-phase strategy, or this is the first two phases of it. And as we go through the rest of it, you'll see how it fits into the second ones. But basically, the first one, and I think the most important thing, and the easiest kind of like just email shooter would be your database re-engagement. So once we talk about a little bit more of the details, you'll want to think of how you can use that and how you'll want to use that with your database and friends and families and that kind of thing. Uh, but the pitch would basically be that it's a super low price point to get into, so $100 for most houses, most normal size houses, and that's what is going to tee off this whole program, and that gives you access to the rebates. They can choose to do things if they want to or not do them. They don't get entered into some like thing where the government's now watching them and seeing if they do it. It's literally just something that we spit a little report out that gives them numbers. It does not go into like some government database, well, in some ways it does, like into a file, but nobody's keeping an eye on them and seeing if they do it or saying that they should do it. Um, so thinking that way, and then also in the inspection pivot, if you have a deal that has, say, first-time home buyers and they come in, it's got a 22-year-old heat pump, everything's working fine. It's a 1970s townhouse in Crofton or something, and there's minimal insulation upstairs, 22-year-old heat pump, but everything looks fine and works well. You guys know how that first time home buyer just kind of gets deflated, and then you have to be the one to be like, oh, I know it's 22 years old and there's no attic insulation, but like that's just it's fine. It's old house stuff. You're buying a used house, and then they're like, well, I don't have any money left. And so this kind of pivots the focus from the buyers wanting to apply the negotiation to like replace my 22-year-old heat pump or your 22-year-old heat pump because it's old, even though it works. And you can say, hey, well, actually, you know what? I have this program that I'm aware of. And when you settle, we'll get you like, and you could even, I'm not saying you should do this, but hey, $100, I'll give you a settlement gift, free energy audit, and then we'll see how much, you're going to get thousands of dollars off of replacing this heat pump. And it gets them excited, like we use it at inspections all the time, and people really divert their focus from negotiations to excitement about some program in the future. So think about those two things, and then obviously for yourself and investors, it's just an easy way to get up to $10,000, $15,000 for each house. So we'll come back to some of these ideas, but let's get into what it exactly is. This is our flyer that we use just to give out, and so it just has, and I can send this to anybody after this. It's just a good thing to glance at and remember what applies and what doesn't, and or give it to your clients. But the way we talk about it is the rebates are up to 75% or up to $10,000. And then It also goes up to $15,000, but that's if a certain trigger's made, which we'll talk about in a second. But when we say up to 75%, that doesn't mean it's going to be 75% of the cost. So generally it'll be, I'm just spitballing, it's usually at least half the price. So you usually get about half off, if not more, for attic insulation. And here we're going to go down this line. I don't know if you can see my mouse. I don't think I have
Yep,
it.
we can.
Okay. So attic insulation and air sealing is really the first and main point of the program. And so you get rebated for it, right? But what they want you to do is improve your attic insulation and air seal. And we'll talk about that later if we have time, what air sealing looks like. But the idea is to stop losing the efficiency that's already in your house before they want to pay for, a heat pump or a water heater, because they don't want to just like give money for a water heater when you're losing it straight out, or else for HVAC when you're losing it straight out the ceiling. So no matter what, you pretty much need to do attic insulation and air sealing, and then you can do heat pump replacements, AC you can do replacements. And then if you say you have a gas furnace or a boiler, like we have a lot of old houses with oil heat and boilers, if you do a conversion, so you had oil or you had gas and you're going to a heat pump, it's actually going to go from a $10,000 max to a $15,000 max. And again, that doesn't mean they're going to get that. That just means if the rebates go that high, they can get up to that amount. And with conversions to electricity, you often get actually up $15,000. Like it's pretty legit. You get there pretty quickly. All right, so then water heater replacements. Water heaters have to be rebated. They can only be rebated if you go to a heat pump water heater. So from a normal water heater to a heat pump water heater. And again, if you go from a gas water heater to an electric heat pump water heater, that max rebate goes up to 15 again, even though you're not going to need it for that because the water heater is not that expensive. So say you had a crawl space, attic, and a water heater, you'd probably get, you're all 15. And I'll show you some more numbers later. Speaking of crawl space, that's another big ticket item. Like that is probably pound for pound, you get the biggest rebates for it. Most of our rebates that go over 10,000 or, which get capped at 10 are for crawl spaces. Just because you're encapsulating it, you're doing so much improvement to the house, you're sealing it from the outside. And plus that work costs a lot and it's rebated to match. Like you actually pay much less for encapsulation than you would for like just straight up pound for pound attic insulation even. All right, then window and door replacement. It's not the biggest hit for that. So I would like it does do it. But most of the contractors in the program aren't window and door companies. So we're starting to do more and more of that on our side. But in general, it's like it's best for these top ones as it tiers down. It's best for the top ones. It's just easy in and out, like they do it all the time every day. And window and glass, it's a little bit less rebate pound for pound. Like if you have windows in the house, it's often $50,000-$60,000. This might give you $1,300. Like it's like a spit in the bucket for that. But for attic
No, Bobby,
insulation,
let me ask.
yeah.
Are you are you consulting with the clients at this point?
Yes. Yeah. We'll talk
Okay,
about
so you're walking people through this.
Yeah, so the main
Okay.
we'll be the energy audit is the main
Mhm.
thing that happens first. And within that, we get all the info what the house has and we get the rebates. And then we can consult them and say, hey, you're best at doing this
Okay.
and this. And then we can tailor it and say and resubmit it and say, here's it's a plum. We'll get to that. Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay.
So let's keep
All right.
moving. So first question I like to answer is what is the energy audit? And basically it's like a mini home inspection. So most of you guys are familiar with home inspections. It's a home inspection that identifies and focuses on what the house is using or losing in the way of efficiency and electrical energy. It also does with gas too, but that's like a secondary thing. We're not going to rebate that. And so it measures the performance of the energy performance of your house. So during that, we're going to check insulation levels in the attic, crawl spaces, basements, venting. We're also going to like do some safety things to make sure that the house is venting furnaces, fireplaces, well, that kind of thing. because that's just something that for safety, health and safety. And then HVAC, we're going to check the type of system, age, and efficiency. All this is getting modeled to therefore then kick out the right rebates. Water heater, same thing. And then envelope, air leakage, where we're getting air leakage from, windows, doors, seals, that kind of thing. And then in addition to that, we're going to do a blower door test, which I'm actually skipped to here. So blower door, we're going to hook this fancy thing up to the door, and then we're going to depressurize the house. We're going to suck air out
Oh,
of the house. And while we're doing that, that's going to highlight the areas that the house is really leaky in. And so
oh,
oftentimes you can feel the air pouring in through, usually around the ceilings where your gaps are into the attic, around joints, at basements, crawl spaces, especially like just up through the floors. You'd be amazed in a house with a crawl space, you're just getting air pouring up, from the crawl space. And then this gives us a number of how leaky the house is. So if you're sucking air out, we can measure the ease of flow, if you will, and that tells us how leaky the house is. And then a part of the rebate work is when we start air sealing. So say we do it and we get the rebates, we're doing attic insulation and HVAC. During that, we're going to do the attic insulation. We're going to seal a bunch of gaps, mostly in the ceiling going to the attic, just with spray foam. And then when we come back to test out to actually get the rebate, we put the blower door test back on, we suck air out, and it proves how much tighter we made the house. So it's
oh,
pretty cool. So you get a little bit of proof on that. And that rebate doesn't get paid unless that blower door test proves that we tighten the house up.
okay.
Oh, here.
And I think, I know you mentioned it once, I believe already, but I think it's important to keep reminding people that this isn't just for your primary residence. For investment properties also, this rebate's available.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of skipped it, but everybody's getting taxed for this. If you look at your energy bill, if anybody really wants to, or you can use this for your clients, tell them to pull up their energy bill. At the bottom is an Empower MD tax. They've been paying this tax. We've all been paying this since 2007. So we're paying this money in. There's like $290 million in this pot that's just getting taken from us. And so I always tell people, I'm not the like greeniest person in the world. I like to save money and be efficient. But BGE, the government's making BGE take our money. Why not get it back? Right. So I'm going to get it from
Mhm.
my rental house. I'm going to get it from my house. Let's get our money back. It's our money. All right. So here again, you can see where a lot of the areas that house loses energy, and you can see all that those arrows up into the attic. This is primarily where the air sealing comes in. And in real estate and with home inspections, you generally don't get into this. So this is just something to be educated on. This is one of the reasons that everybody's calling and complaining about their energy bills is just because we're losing massive amounts of volume of air. Even if the insulation's good, you're losing volumes of air through gaps. But here, this is a good kind of illustration just to show you all the things that are being checked. Let me see on time. Yeah, we'll keep rolling. All right, and then we often use infrared just to help highlight that too. For the most part, this is just people like to see it. We can generally judge the other factors without doing this, but people love to see color.
Is there a date in which windows have become better as far as sealing?
Yeah, I mean, really every um, year and decade it gets better and better. But Maryland code in like 2015 went to air sealing requirements. So if you have like any 2000 early 2000s house and before is generally going to be the leakiest houses.
Yeah.
And
I'm,
then
I'm always so thrilled that I have all this natural light, but I think my house would look even worse than your slide.
yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so that's important. If anybody has a house before
Okay.
2015, you can be like,
Hmm.
hey, you might have great insulation, but your house is probably losing a lot. And this,
Okay.
energy audit can help pay for tightening that up. And again, think about like any complaint that you had, somebody like your hairdresser or whoever it is that was complaining about their energy bills. This would be a great follow-up email. Like, hey, I remember you had really high energy bills. I just found out about this and I thought about you. So easy way
Yeah,
to do
that's a
that.
great value. That's a valuable touch for sure.
Yeah, and you can personalize it because everybody's fussing about their bills.
Hmm.
Now, don't overpromise either. Like half the reason is because BG racked up the the wattage per dollar amount. So like we can't fix that, but you can at least make it more efficient. All right, so here's about the rebates. So rebates will come through this report, but then they're used as discounts for the work to be done. So you don't have to like pay for it all and then wait for the rebate. Depending on which contractor you use, like DeVere, sometimes they make you do that, but most of the contractors will just apply these rebates as discounts. And so say if your total bill comes up to be 5,800 and the rebates are 3,200, you only pay that remaining amount to get all that work done at your house.
So the contractor then receives the refund.
Yep.
Oh, that's even better. It's even
Yeah.
easier administratively. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
I just got better.
yeah, sorry, I always assume that people will get that and I need to put that on a graphic. And I even have like older clients that we have estimates from, and you can see an exact estimate of like what we've done. Even one
Okay.
that I just did the other day was $15,000 worth of work, but it was 10,000 rebate. So the client paid $5,000 to get $15,000 worth of work on his house.
Whoa. Okay.
And he only paid 5,000. He doesn't wait for anything. He just pays the minimum
And
amount.
BG&E is paying the contractor.
Yep. And then the
I don't know
rebates
why
come to us.
that's awesome. Okay.
And again, don't forget that it starts with getting the attic to R49. That's like the qualifier. Um,
Okay.
and then here's another little bullet point of all the things that it covers: water heaters, heat pump, or heating, cooling, windows, doors, crawl space. All right, so this is an actual rebate package that was sent to one of our clients. And so you can see here kind of how it looks. And this is a little bit more confusing. The estimate makes it clear, but I want you guys to see this just because this is what the clients will get.
Okay.
And there's other pages to this. There's pictures and pie charts of energy usage and a lot of fun stuff. But ultimately, let's be real, like people are doing this mostly to get money, not for like a pie chart and figure out where their house is losing energy. So air sealing, we've talked about how we're going to reduce the air leakage from the house. They quantify that after the blower door test numbers. And so this house, they said, oh, sugar. This house, they said, all right, we're going to give you, $740 to air seal. So that's the discount you're going to be able to use for the job just for the amount of air reduction that it'll use. HVAC, this had like a 2-ton heat pump. He said we're going to give you $3,400 off of your heat pump. So if that's say usually a $9,000 or $10,000 heat pump, they're getting $3,400 off that. And let me say too, you're getting a more efficient heat pump. You have to use a certain level of a heat pump, right? And so they might be able to find a heat pump they can get replaced for 8,500, right? Like the bottom of the barrel cheap one. Well, here they're going to get a much nicer heat pump and still pay below that because the rebate is going to, bridge that gap. So it's not just that they're getting savings off of what they could do on their own. They're also getting a better unit, and a more efficient unit and a better warranty and all that. All right, and then they're going to give them just to air seal the basement, the rim joist or that little area above the foundation. They're going to give them $1,700, almost $1,800, which is more than the cost of what it will cost to do that work. But that's fine because we look at it as a package. So even if it goes over the cost of that particular line item, you get to use that as a part of the bigger package. And then to do the attic, there are two different attic spaces, and their total for the attic is right here's 1,000 for that. So 1,000 plus the 700 for air sealing is from the attic. So really you're getting $1,800 for the attic, and it's probably going to cost 2,000, maybe 2,500. So you're paying, that like 25% for that part. And then here's the comprehensive total. So if you did everything, you would get $7,000 in rebates for this little house. 7,000. So now, say we wanted to do everything, the contractor would just give you a quote and say the quote was $10,000. So what would be $10,000, you're only going to pay $3,000 for $10,000 worth of work. So again, like well over half of the price, probably close to that 75% max. Now, if for whatever reason the contractor quoted everything out and it was only $7,500, you wouldn't get all 7,000. You'd have to do the math, or we would do the math, and you'd have to pay 25%. So no matter what, they make you pay 25% your chunk, right? If that makes sense. So if your rebates out overpass the total cost, you just take the 25% and that's all you owe.
So
Any
I
questions?
imagine, and how much money did you say is in this fund?
Millions and millions and millions.
And no one knows, so it's like a really well-kept secret.
Yeah. So like I think when I got in the program a couple of years ago, they said that like 7% of the public was aware and using the program. And
Seven. Okay.
yep. And at that rate, it's still growing because
Okay.
everybody's being taxed. You don't have to know about it to get taxed, like any good taxes,
Yeah.
but nobody's using, very few people are actually using it. So now there are other programs out of this money. So there's programs for commercial, like the Redskin Stadium,
Hmm.
or what do they call it now? Um,
Commanders?
Commander Stadium. It got all of its lights. It got I think $38 million of its lights from the program. So we
Oh
paid
my.
for the Commanders lights, even though just because the program covers LED lighting upgrades. And so that's again kind of ridiculous. They don't need us to pay. They don't need our tax dollars to pay for their crazy profitable business. But
So
that's
I didn't realize it was commercial also. I
yeah.
thought it
There's a
was just,
couple different fingers out of this
okay.
program.
All
Commercial
right.
lighting is one of them. All right, so here's a good, just in case you're trying to visualize what it looks like to air seal. Um, and blown up this big, it got a little bit grainy. But
That's
essentially, this
good.
is what we do. Now, this one had the insulation removed, so every house doesn't have it removed. Usually, we would just have the guys pick up the insulation and air seal and put it back down. But this is what it looks like when you can see it. So see how all these little penetrations where the wires go into the wall
Yeah.
around all these recessed lights, where the pipes go through the wall. There's no pipes in this one, but there's often a lot of pipes going through. And the plumbers are going to drill a three-inch hole through the top of the wall and then put a 2-inch pipe in. And you've got those all around the house. So think about those huge air gaps that you're just
No.
losing. It's called the stack effect. In the winter or summer, if you go up in the attic and put your hand over one of those holes, it's literally like air conditioning is just rushing out onto your hand. So air sealing really puts a cap on the house for the to trap the heating and cooling, and then the insulation can do its job. But like a lot of 80s, 90s houses, it's got good insulation, but it doesn't matter because the air is just rushing through the joints. All right, and then the rebates pay a lot for like encapsulating your attic or spray foam in the attic. If you guys have seen that, I'm just going to kind of go through these quickly.
Hmm.
And then adding attic insulation, it's going to look nice like this. Here you can see how, like, this is one of those 90s attics. See, even the insulation, even though it's R38, see, there's
Uh-huh.
joints between every piece of insulation. So, like, it's good in number, but like, we're losing massive amounts of heat and cooling just up through all these chases and channels. So, what we like to do is air seal this and then blow in on top of it 2 to 5 inches of cellulose insulation. And cellulose is like ground up newspaper and it compacts a little bit better and gives you like again like a little cap on top of all this and fills all the gaps and joints. There's fiberglass. All right, then crawl spaces. I'm just going to run through this real quick. If you know anybody that has a crawl space, this is a even better reason to call them and say, "Hey, I heard this presentation. I thought of you. You have a crawl space." And you can even drive around and see foundation vents on houses, like your aunt's house, and be like, "Oh, I didn't know she had a crawl space. I should tell her about this program." If you have a
Yeah.
crawl space and it hasn't been encapsulated, it's almost definitely going to have mold in it or be create like at some point it's going to get moldy. And now I'm not saying this to scare everybody. It's often not this bad. Like this would be a little bit more extreme. But this is generally what happens. Like this is a $3 or $4 million house with an addition by a big builder like 10 years ago. And you can see across here, mold all across here. And it's not because he did anything wrong, other than the fact that he did it with ventilated crawl spaces. In our climate, ventilated crawl spaces, with the amount of air conditioning that we use these days, creates condensation at the floors. The insulation becomes like a cloud and fills up with water, and that's why it all falls down and creates a little bit of mold. So we're going to make it look like this. You can put your mother-in-law down here after this work is done. So we encapsulate it kind of like a mini basement, plastic sealed up the walls. It's insulated around the foundation walls, and then a dehumidifier inside. And the dehumidifier is going to control that relative humidity and make your house a whole lot tighter and healthier. And it pays a lot of money to do this because it's expensive work. It's generally between 8 and 12,000 for a full house crawl space. But again, this is going to rebate generally, 5 to 10,000. So you're going to pay a lot less. All right, then heat pump water heaters on the left. This is a normal water heater. On the right, this is a heat pump water heater. Essentially, it's got the heat pump on the top of the water heater. That part is much, much more efficient, and it runs slowly and just keeps it and maintains it. It's a better maintainer. Then when you go to use a bunch of hot water, it still has the electric elements like a normal electric water heater. So you still get the power of an electric water heater when you need it. And it's about $3,500 they rebate for every heat pump water heater. Like you almost always get at least $3,500 for that, which is crazy. Although they do cost a lot. So usually it's gonna be like $5,200 for a water heater replacement. And again, they're rebating $3,500 to $4,000 of it. So you're paying the price of one of these cheap little normal water heaters, same price, but for a much more efficient unit. So that one's less of a cost saver as it is you just get a lot more for your money. Does that make sense? So don't tell people
you got me on this hot water heater because mine looks just like the one on the left.
Yeah, I mean, imagine what this thing's cooking versus what this is like the top of the line.
Okay.
All right, and then here's old heat pump again. When you see this at a showing or anything, your mind should just go right to, oh, rebate. I'm going to get you $5,000 for this thing. It's a good visual. And then conversions, again, if you're going from one of these to a heat pump, you're going to get up to 15,000. I think I'm going to try. Yeah.
I'm showing an 80s property right after this.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I think my dialogue's going to be a little different.
Yes. And that's what's cool, guys, is you guys can use this at every avenue just as a conversation piece or to look like an expert. You're in that 80s house, you're going to go, hey, this is probably not the most efficient house, but luckily I have a great way to take care of that for you or to help you through that. And again, you look like the hero, you're providing value.
And didn't Marcy, I think Marcy gave slides to AACAR and they're going to post them, right?
I'm not sure. Is that what, yeah,
I think that's what they were talking about.
Okay.
So a lot of this we can get to.
I'll probably send this. This has a little bit more pictures in it. We might send this one, but that's fine. All right, does anybody have questions out there? Hopefully that was pretty clear. And of course, if you're watching this, after the fact, my contact info should be somewhere, or at least you can find it if you just Google HomePro Chesapeake, and I can give you all the rundown, get you set up, answer questions for free.
Well, I'm actually calling you shortly to look at this attic because this house is, I think it's when they stopped really paying a lot of attention to the detail.
Yes,
so
yeah, 80s
I think we're leaking.
About that time.
Yeah, we're leaking. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we've had a lot of agents use it just for themselves. And it's kind of nice to run it through, and some people you could do it on social media, follow through it, or just for you to learn and experience. And that way, when you tell others about it, you can say, I've done it, I saved $7,000, or you just know what to expect because you've done it.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time they do it just because they want to save some money, but they can also use it for that.
Anyone have questions?
I do. Hi. Good morning. It's Pam.
Hey, Pam.
Hi, Bobby. Going through homes sometimes and with a seller, and you have the carpet where right along the stairs going up each side, the carpet's clean, but along the stairway, it's dark spots and in throughout bedrooms and stuff. Is that because the home I've heard different things. Is it because it's too tightly built or too loose? I mean, it seems
too loose.
Too
yep.
loose.
So it's usually going to be the lighter the carpet, the more you're going to see that. And that's actually a filtering. So your carpet is acting like a filter. That means it's really leaky and air sealing. And so the house is either sucking in air or like when you're heating the house, you're under positive pressure, you're usually losing air. So imagine that house air is just rushing out through below the baseboards, rushing out into the wall and then up into the attic probably or out the wall. And as it's rushing out, it's filtering and the dust is collecting day after day after day. And so that's why you get that little gray area all the way around the house is just the filtering effect.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's usually not mold, it's nothing but just how common house
Mhm.
dust that's accumulating over time.
Got it.
But yeah, that's
And
a
then,
great dead ringer to say this house is leaky.
right. Okay. And then the other question in the rebates. So if switching, say where we have propane, my personal home,
Mhm.
on propane, and if switching and getting either a new HVAC, that if you're going from gas to electric, you get more of a rebate than going from gas to a new gas furnace.
Yeah, you would get no rebate for just replacing your furnace,
Got it.
which sometimes is fine. And that's where again we're not trying to like sell people on doing anything. We'd say, hey, to replace your furnace, if you have a new AC paired with an older furnace,
Mm-hmm.
it might only be 5,000 to replace that furnace and just keep what you have. No rebates, don't worry about it, like but if you want to, you can get a dual fuel so we can keep the furnace or replace it with a furnace and then
Mm-hmm.
also a heat pump. So then if you guys are familiar with dual fuel where it's heat pump for like normal mild temperatures, but then when it gets real cold, the furnace kicks over.
Right.
The program will incentivize it will pay for that for the heat pump side. So it's not gonna the rebate's gonna be pretty good, but it's paying for the heat pump, not the furnace. But
I
again, at the
see.
same time, you can get the furnace and the heat pump, and the rebate's just gonna match what I showed you, like on here. Uh,
Right. Well, and the AC is electric, but so if you just
yep.
need,
So
you
it's a
don't need,
rebate for that,
so
but
just,
it's minimal for that because
oh,
the difference between a new AC and an old AC isn't quite as drastic as heating is where we use most of our kilowatt hours,
okay.
electric energy. But yeah,
So
so
heating, not AC.
yeah, I mean
Is it
you
because,
use some in AC too, but heating, like there's a direct correlation between like wattage, like electrical usage and heat. Like it basically electrical energy creates heat. So to get heat, you're using a lot of electrical energy, if that makes sense.
okay.
And
Mhm.
AC, you're using a fair amount too, just not quite as much.
Okay. All right.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So I am going,
Let me unshare this. Sorry. Okay.
all right.
Did it not it didn't go off, did it? Come on now.
No, it didn't. Any other questions? I'm definitely signing up. Yeah. But it's so funny. I think a lot of us have to hear something twice. I don't know if everybody does, but I do. I've heard this twice. And the first time it was like, wow, that's really interesting. And right now it's like, oh my God, I need to call him. I need this evaluation. You struck me when you showed the attic because I can completely relate to that. And sometimes I lay in bed and I look at the attic and I'm thinking, I wonder how much I'm losing through the
Yeah,
attic.
just dollar
And
bills.
then when you showed me my personal old ugly water heater, yeah, that's what that looked like.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is great. And I think it's fascinating to know that this has been since what, 2007, did you say?
Yeah. When that's when
That
they started taxing.
we've all been paying into this
Yeah.
fund. Well, Pam, having been a cheerleader for that football team, you should be pleased they have nice lighting.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, it's good for them. But okay, well, if no other questions, I don't want to keep everyone. I appreciate jumping on. Thank you so much for your time again, Bobby, and all
Yeah.
the time you've given this week just for this period here. And Noah, I hope we have a nice turnout. I will be there next month to hear you and experience that. Thank you. We have 3 AACAR. We have our president on and 2 more people on our committee. So appreciate everyone joining this morning. And
Thanks,
this will
Bobby.
be on AACAR's YouTube. So share it.
Can
And
we
remember,
get Bobby's contact info, or what's the next step if we're interested in scheduling something?
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, should I do it in the chat or do that
do it in the chat.
email? Okay, it will stay on after we get. All right.
Do you think, Jody, or would you rather it?
It might go away once we leave, but
Yeah.
Okay, so how about give us your number now? I
okay.
have that flyer.
Yeah, and then let me see if this. I'll put it up on the chat too, so because just for the heck of it. But you can my cell's on there too, but obviously the
Okay.
office number is who you're going to call for scheduling.
Mhm.
HomePro Chesapeake, and you can just Google that, or I'll maybe send an email or however you guys give it me access to get information to people. But you can
Okay.
schedule online or through the HomePro email or from calling the office number. But if you have more
Okay.
direct personal questions, my cell, I just put it on there too.
Okay.
And he's very responsive. And Marcy's wonderful at the
Yeah.
office. So yeah, your office is great to work with. So appreciate it again. Thank you so much. And everyone have a wonderful weekend.
Make it a great Saturday.
And
Thanks.
have a if you are a father or you have a father, have a happy Father's Day.